Hi, Fergus. How are you?
I'm good, Peter. How you doing?
Fergus, I am great. Thanks very much. Welcome to the Business Spotlight. Thanks very much for sharing your time to talk with me today. Could we start? Could you tell me a little about yourself and your background, please?
Sure. I'm probably an unusual one in the drink spirits industry in that my background started in pharmaceuticals, into healthcare, found my way into food, and then 5 years ago I joined Quintessential Brands and got into spirits and really loved the industry. So planning on staying in this industry now.
And so to tell me a little about Hinch Distillery and your role as MD. How did that role come about? What appealed to you about it, and how's the journey been so far?
The journey's been great. Managing director for the last 7 months. They kind of sold the dream to me when I came and visited the place. If you haven't come, Peter, you're very welcome. We'd love to show you around. But it's probably a standout as an independent distillery versus any other I've seen on the island of Ireland. I'm lucky that I've got not just an amazing distillery. We have our own maturation on site, so we have a big warehouse full of casks. We have our own bottling line. And we've got a sister company called Biopacks that does all our labeling. So we pretty much have a one-stop shop. So I suppose it's a mixture of the entrepreneurial mindset that Dr. Terry Cross has, an amazing distillery and brands, um, and great people. And we're growing the team. But yeah, it's fantastic.
And tell me a little about the products. What type of products are produced at Hinge?
Yeah, well, I would say most of our focus is on Irish whiskey. So we've started our journey with a lot of really good blended whiskies. We've actually won only last week two World Whiskey Awards for two of our products, which is absolutely fantastic. Um, and as we start maturing, we'll start moving into single malts over the next few years. Our head distiller Will is he's just fantastic, and we get such amazing feedback, not just on our brands, but on the new make liquid we have. And now that we've a 3-year-old liquid, the feedback we're getting on that is fantastic. So whiskey would be our number one focus. We do a ninth wave gin, which would be our secondary focus.
And for some people won't be aware, I only discovered it recently. So if you tell people for something to be called Irish whiskey, I know there's a timeline and strict rules. So in a nutshell, what does it take for something to be called Irish whiskey?
Very simply, it has to be distilled and matured on the island of Ireland for 3 years. So once you get to that 3 year mark, you can then call it Irish whiskey. Up to that point, it's pretty much called either new make or new fill liquid.
And how long has Hinch been going for as a distillery?
Well, we have just had that 3 year anniversary just before Christmas in December. So we're very proud that we are now utilizing our liquid in all our whiskies, which is fantastic. Great milestone.
Yeah. Well, happy birthday for that.
Thank
Uh,
you.
so tell me, Fergus, tell me about your target market. Who do you want to sell to?
Well, in terms of the key markets, the US is 40% of Irish whiskey sales are in the US. So in terms of a key market, the US is number one. Um, we want to be very successful on the island of Ireland, both north and south. It's our home market. And then there's some key markets across Europe, like France, Germany, the Netherlands, that we've got really good distributors in, and we're performing well. Australia is a target market for us, and we're going to go after Australia actively over the next few months. And then there's a number of Asian markets that are certainly in the developmental stage for Irish whiskey, but timing is really good. So it's kind of a balance between going into markets that we know there's already a really strong presence for Irish whiskey and acceptance of it. And then looking at developing markets where we can go in a little bit earlier and hopefully beat some of our competitors set to the punch. And then in
And
terms of our consumer, we're not looking at that kind of entry level position. So we describe our consumer as being a little bit more sophisticated. They're a little bit more knowledgeable about whiskey, but we still want to have that value accessibility point. And then probably that consumer is not one that's going to be into heavy drinking. It's more they love whiskey, they love to drink it, but it's less is better in their mindset.
if you think about your career, your journey in business, what would you say has been the biggest lesson that you've learned along the way?
Um, I've learned that unfortunately the hard way, Peter, in that you get the right people. You know, you've got to make sure that you're you're recruiting the right people. I've recruited some great people from a skills perspective and experience, but culture and fit are critical. So in terms of one of the key lessons for me, make sure, first and foremost, fit and their motivation is the first thing that I want to get right. And then either the skills or experience are secondary, because the right people will enhance and help you grow a business. The wrong people absolutely don't, and they can be quite disruptive and sometimes destructive to a business.
And if you think about some of the surprises, let's say, even if we think about your time involved in the drink industry, what would you say has been the biggest surprise along the road of your career in the drinks sector and specifically?
Um, I suppose the biggest surprise I've had in the drink sector as I got to know it is that, like you look at the brands we have, and we're just a 3-year-old. We sell 15-year-old whiskey. We have a 19-year-old whiskey. Um, biggest surprise I suppose I got is just understanding it's not necessarily just we got great liquid, but the blending is critical. The finishing, because you'll have a lot of whiskey finished in different casks. It might be wine, it might be port. So, you think about whiskey in its nature and you think about a producer, but sometimes the liquid isn't necessarily theirs because it might be an older profile, but it doesn't mean you don't make it yours. By having the blending right, by having the finishing right. Obviously, packaging plays a big part of it as well. So that was probably when I started in the drinks industry, was one of the biggest surprises I had, that, you may not necessarily be selling your own liquid, but it becomes your own liquid.
And are there any business leaders, past or present, that have influenced you or that you've looked up to along the way?
I'm going to start. This might sound a little bit political on my part. I got to mention Dr. Terry Cross. Like, he is a true entrepreneur, having built a really successful packaging business with Delta. A lot of people after the sale of Delta would have just sat back and retired. He then goes and creates this amazing distillery, and he also launched a new packaging business with biopacks. So I'll definitely give Terry a nod. But in terms of over my career, I've always been fascinated by Richard Branson and what he's done, both in terms of his entrepreneurial mindset, but also he's an amazing leader of people, and he believes in culture. You know, you look at some of the stuff he's done, and it kind of, I think, even in terms of what I said about people and getting the right people, that's his mindset. If you get the right people into a business, they're the ones who will actually be the ones who will drive it and grow it and make it a bit fun as well. So that's kind of where my head is a lot in business. It's not just about trying to be successful. You're allowed to enjoy it. And it's meant to be fun as well. You do this more than you spend with your family and friends. So you gotta have a bit of fun.
Yeah, great share and very true. So tell me, what gets you out of bed in the morning and really drives your passion for your business?
Well, I'm nearly 2 hours away, so I have to get out of bed pretty early. I'm quite lucky. I suppose not a lot of people say, but I love what I do. Um, I love growing and helping and supporting a team. Um, at the moment, because I'm only 7 months in, it's full on. Um, but to spend time to mentor people, it's a great part of the job. Um, coming into a distributor, or sorry, a distillery as young as ours, being able to build a strategy, pivot as you normally will in any business, and then watch that strategy come to life, and really exciting. And I don't tend to, a part of my job, a big part is obviously sitting behind the desk. But I spent a lot of time getting into markets. So recently I was in South Africa, I was in the US, I was in France. So it's great to actually get out, meet our distributors face to face. You get a much better understanding of what they're about when you're actually in market rather than the underside of a screen. So that's pretty fun as well. So as I said from the start, I'm very lucky in the job that I have.
And if it were possible, Fergus, and you could go back in time and give some advice to your 18-year-old self, what would that sound like?
Yeah, I suppose there's a few different elements to it, Peter. The one real learner I had, and it's something that a lot of people will struggle with as they're growing their career. It's that kind of fear of not knowing something. So you're in a meeting, you're like a nodding dog, but actually you've no idea what they're talking about. I made a promise to myself when I turned 30 that if I don't know something, I will ask. And that was the best advice I could ever give to myself. And I followed that through. I've been at meetings and people are looking at me going, you really should know that. But you asked a question, So it took me an extra 12 years. So I would tell my 18-year-old self, it's okay to not know stuff. You're not meant to know everything. Balance through different stages of my career. You get caught up and you're working silly hours, and you can't do that as you're trying to grow and build your career. But family and friends are forever. It'll be very unlikely that you'll spend your whole life in one company. You'll go from company to company, but your family and friends are critical. So make sure you've got balance. I suppose the last point on it, as we're developing our core values within Hinch, they're simple ones, that I truly believe in. Take risks, think big, work hard, and be kind. And if everyone can follow those simple values, it's a simple mantra. I think we'd be okay.
Superb. And Fergus, if somebody likes what they hear, would like to reach out to you or have a look at Hinch Distillery and maybe even buy some of the products, what would be the best way to reach out and make that happen?
Well, we get onto our website. You can make contact with us there. You can reach out directly by phone. Someone wants to talk to me, be more than happy to speak to them.
Brilliant. Well, Fergus Murphy from Hinch Distillery, thank you very much for sharing your story and your journey. I wish you all the best with Hinch Distillery. It sounds like you're going some serious places. So all the best for that for the remainder of 2024 and beyond. Fergus, thanks very much.
Thanks, Peter.